Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. I'm producer Pat Ford filling in for David today. Tomorrow, Luke Beasley is going to be hosting the program, and then Farron Cousins will be filling in Wednesday, Thursday, before David makes his triumphant return to the show on Friday. Let's talk about the economy. The issue that has plagued President Biden throughout much of his presidency, especially during the year 2022, was the high inflation rate, peaking at 9.1% in the summer. And of course, the reasons for the high inflation are numerous. There was the supply chain issues, the Russian war in Ukraine, and the economic stimulus programs that came in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And for the past year, the Federal Reserve has been steadily hiking interest rates to cool that inflation number down. It does indeed appear to be working, as inflation has been at a steady downtrend for 8 or 9 months now, with it currently sitting at around 6%. However, there's still a ways to go before we get to that 2 to 3% rate that the Fed wants to see. We've talked in the past about how you want a little bit of inflation so that people are incentivized to spend money now rather than wait to purchase things in the future, because if people anticipate that things are going to be more expensive in the future, they're going to want to pay for them now. But of course, if the inflation rate is too high, then people's savings get depleted and things get way too expensive, as we've seen to some degree over the last year or two. Well, what will necessarily happen as a result of trying to tamp down on inflation and the higher interest rates that come with it is the slowing of job growth, since businesses will have less money to hire new people and as borrowing money becomes more expensive. And that is finally what we're seeing. It took a long time to get there, but the latest job numbers from the month of March 2023 show that we are finally getting to a cooling down of the number of people getting hired. It's still an increase, of course, month to month as the population increases, but the rate is slowing down now. Job creation slowed to 236,000 for the month, almost reaching the level that President Biden said would stabilize the economy and prices. More Americans joined the labor force, and wage gains fell slightly, which could help to further cool inflation. The lower wage gains is yet another necessary evil to calming down the rate of inflation. It's one of these unfortunate necessities that is seen by an economist as, what you have to do to bring about a lower inflation rate. The unemployment rate currently sits at 3.5%, which is lower than what we saw under Trump, lower than what we saw under President Obama, lower than what we saw under President Bush. And given how Trump would endlessly brag about the economy, he would love to have seen these numbers during his tenure. Biden should be doing the exact same thing, because 3.5% is essentially what we would call full employment. Biden is cautioning, however, that there is more work to do when it comes to the economy to bring down high prices that are squeezing workers and families. Biden previously stated that monthly job creation needed to fall to around $150,000 jobs, so there still is a ways to go. I understand that this is maybe not the most exciting story, but this come down from the high inflation rate we always thought would take some time, and indeed it has taken some time. It's been 8 or 9 months at this point since inflation has peaked, and it was always going to come with some sacrifices when it comes to other economic indicators like jobs numbers slowing down, like wage growth slowing down. And as these months go on and job creation cools, and as the inflation rate cools, we're definitely hearing less and less from Republicans about the economy overall. Perhaps that's why they're so focused on these culture war issues these days, talking about trans people and drag shows and other topics like that, because they just can't seem to make salient points when it comes to gas prices anymore. They can't really talk about the stock market, as that has recovered to some degree. Can't really talk about inflation, since that's long since peaked. And, over the last year, they've just been talking about nonsense, because they really can't focus on these kitchen tables issues effectively like they were able to about a year ago. And it's, of course, impossible to predict where the economy is going to go next, right? We don't know if things are going to have a turnaround and will reverse course and go in the opposite direction of where we want to see things. Terribly difficult to predict the economy short to midterm, but looking at the data, looking at the trajectories of these different things, my sense is that by the time the 2024 election rolls around, we could definitely have inflation under control, with job numbers maybe not quite as good as they are now, but still at a very healthy level. The Federal Reserve will then have the green light to start lowering interest rates again, and things could end up being in solid shape when it's time for voters to go to the polls in 2024. And not only is that good for us stakeholders who participate in the American economy, it could also be good for President Biden's re-election chances if he indeed decides to run, and it could make Republicans basically unable to speak effectively about these kitchen table issues, and they'll have to resort to talking about the culture war, whatever their new pet issue is for the day. So inflation cooling down, jobs numbers cooling down along with it, and of course we'll continue to follow it.
One of our sponsors is Helix Sleep. I have been sleeping on a Helix mattress at home for years now. I couldn't be more happy with it. I recommend it to everybody. The other day, even though she's not allowed in the big bed, I put my baby daughter on the mattress, and even she loved it. Helix Sleep is the premium mattress brand offering tailored mattresses based on your unique sleep preferences. Take the Helix Sleep Quiz. It asks you about your body type, your sleeping position. Do you get hot at night? Do you have back pain? And then Helix will match you with the mattress that's perfect for you. Most people don't know where to begin when shopping for a mattress, including me. Helix makes it simple and less risky because you know you're getting a mattress that fits your needs. It ships free. You can try it for 100 nights to see if you like it, and it comes with a 10 or 15-year warranty. Unlike many mattress companies, all Helix mattresses are made in the USA by a skilled production team, so you are supporting good jobs. Helix Sleep is giving my audience up to 20% off plus 2 free pillows. What other mattress company is going to give you 20% off? Go to helixsleep.com/Pacman. The link is down below.